everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Daniel, and I'm a Yale Alumni and Ambassador, and I'm currently studying at UBC. Thank you for joining us today for the Yale Community Day, and welcome to the Sports Industry section. Before we begin, I'd like to remind everyone that if you click on the side menu on your screen, you will actually leave the session unless you open another tab. If it happens to you, you can easily rejoin. We have time for Q&A near the end of the session, so please hold your questions until then. Also, feel free to post them in the chat during the session so we can have an archive towards the end of the session. But anyways, I'm really excited for this session, and we have three amazing speakers with us today. Let's just start with a quick introduction. Who is everyone? What you guys are doing, and that would be a good way to start us off today. So let's actually start with Andrew. Andrew, how are you doing today? And tell us a little bit about what you do.
Cool, will do. And thanks for having me today. So I am one half of the sort of leadership team at the Athlete Tech Group. Basically, we're an organization where we connect startups and entrepreneurs to the professional athlete space to figure out how business opportunities and connections can make sense for both sides. My specific role is looking at the tech startup world, just based off of previous lives that I've lived, and finding who the right companies are that athletes can kind of mingle with and learn more about, and things of that nature. So yeah, that's a bit of me.
That is beautiful. It sounds really, really interesting. Let's just move on with Nathan. Nathan, please tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do.
Absolutely. My name is Nate Behar. I am a active CFO wide receiver. I'm a free agent right now. Spent 2 years in Edmonton after being drafted in 2017 and a year with the Ottawa Redblacks most recently. And since then, I guess even more recently than that, I'm now the founder and CEO of ATNMY Marketing. We are lucky enough to have met the Athlete Tech Group guys, the ATG guys, and Andrew and his other half, Randy. And what we're doing is we're building an athlete influencer marketplace. So we're a tech company, started out with a web and a mobile app. We're in beta right now with things going great, and it's a little bit about us.
Wow. Technology and on the field. I wish I knew how to navigate that if I was in your position. Sounds quite extraordinary already. Thank you for sharing, Nathan. How about you, Patrick? How about you tell us a little bit quickly about yourself for the people who are just joining us?
Yeah, so my name is Patrick Lago. I'm the owner and operator of Lago Golf Academy. It's based out of Coquitlam, BC, at Westwood Plateau Golf and Country Club, and they have two facilities and executive golf course. So with that, I got a team of 5 instructors. We have a pretty cool little setup where we got multiple hitting bays. We also have a club fitting and repair room. And then obviously behind me here is our high-tech instruction studio. So we use kind of industry-leading technology to help people improve their golf game through force plate data of how they're using the ground, video analysis with high frame rate video, and then launch monitor data as well. So it tracks what your club and ball is doing. So it's a pretty fun little, I kind of call it our golf performance lab, because it's a little bit of like a laboratory where we get to have some fun here. Been in the industry for several years and just kind of fell in love with the whole golf instruction, making people happy business. So that's kind of our focus here, is just helping people improve their golf game and, you know, having fun doing it. So it's a pretty sweet job and fun career to be a part of. So
that is really fascinating, and it looks like it comes out of passion and love for the sport. So good job, Patrick. It looks really awesome.
Thank you.
Now, when we know everyone, how about we get started with the first question? It's going to be an open question. Feel free to just volunteer yourself to answer the question, as well as if you're interested in knowing the input of other members of the panel. Just very casual, very awesome. We're here to have a good time. So the first question for today is, how did you actually get involved in what you're actually doing right now, and what inspired you?
Go
ahead, Nate.
Go, Nate. Go, Nate.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I'm working on right now with ATNMY, it's actually a very organic story, which I think is often, a great sign that you're on the right track and what you should be working on. And it was about 14 or so months ago. I think it was 2019, and obviously playing sports, being in the CFL, being a pro football player for a few years now. I'm the first point of contact for people when they want to get in touch with other athletes that I might know in my network. And that's actually how ATNMY came to life, is that in December of 2019, had a colleague of mine reach out who was starting a little consumer packaged good company I think there's some eyewear and bracelets and watches, what have you. And then, hey Nate, like, you know, when we're ready to launch, I'd love to work with some ambassadors, or, you know, some athletes connect me. And that was great. I said, of course, yes, you're my friend, I got you. And less than a week later, I think the person came up and had the exact same ask of me. And the gear started to churn because there's always been that little bit of entrepreneurial bug in me. And then a third person asked me a month or so later, and I said, okay, stop. I mean, luckily I was in the off season. I didn't have much else to do but lift weights and play Xbox, and the Xbox thing I'm trying to wane down on. So I figured, why not spend some time here and figure out why nobody's able to just do a simple Google and find this a little faster. And the more research I did, the more I realized that there was something I thought I could help with, not just, you know, my friends who wanted to talk to some athletes, but talking to my colleagues, my teammates, and people around the industry, around the country, is that athletes want our marketing deals, and it was just unclear how to do that. And so I'm super excited about the opportunity to, you know, where we already started, you know, getting some of my friends and stuff deals, and it's a pretty awesome and rewarding feeling.
That is amazing. That is amazing. Like, from the view of an athlete, you're able to provide these personal services, if I'm not mistaken. That sounds quite amazing. Quite amazing. Does anyone else have an input on this question as well?
Go ahead, Andrew.
Patrick is not scared.
Oh, no. I'll go.
I'll be quick. So, I mean, it's interesting. So at the time, so I lead a couple dual lives. So I didn't mention, like, athlete tech group's one of my core focuses, but I do have another sort of job that I do. At any rate, I was at IBM at one point, and I was running IBM startup entrepreneur initiatives across Canada. And Steph Curry had invested in a company in Toronto, a startup in Toronto. And immediately I started DMing Steph Curry's team, like, hey, I can help you. Like, I'm like a startup guy who understands tech and can give you more opportunity if this is what you're looking for in Toronto, like, or in Canada in general, like, reach out, kind of thing. Nothing ever happened. But then I met my partner, Randy, about maybe 3 months later, and he told me that story. And I'm like, dude, I've been trying to DM that world. I want to work with athletes. Like, I want to introduce them to technology as well. So the universe said to me, just wait 3 months and you're going to meet someone that can actually make that happen for you. And so we started with a conference, and the idea was like, okay, can we just make these worlds match together through like an event? And then it just grew from there. But it was just so fascinating because I'm a sports nut anyway. So I was like, how could I apply what I know in my day job to like the sports world and somehow find value in both? So just funny how it all kind of worked out that way.
Synchronicity. That's the word.
Universe.
Synchronicity. Yeah.
Synchronicity.
I see a little bit of connection between Andrew's and Nathan's world. We have an interesting panel here today. Interesting panel here. So, Patrick, the one and only.
Yeah, so mine's a little bit different, obviously with the golf industry side, but I got into the game of golf from my father. He introduced me to the game and just kind of fell in love with it. So I've been playing golf since I was 7, just kind of playing around, very unintimidating, just kind of had a really fun time doing it. Played a lot of golf with my brother, very fortunate to be able to have the opportunity to be able to play at a nice kind of private golf course setting. And just, you know, it was a perfect setting where I could just go to the golf course in the morning. My dad would drop me off, and then I'd just play all day. And then he would come and pick me up after he was done work, or we'd go and swim and play 9 holes after he was done work. And that was kind of like my summers, which was pretty amazing. And I feel very blessed and fortunate for that. And then I wasn't sure, just like most people, what to do after high school, like what career to get into. And then so I ended up speaking to an amazing guidance counselor at my school and just kind of just voiced my concerns because I had no idea what I wanted to do. And then she started just kind of asking, like, hey, like, what do you like? And I was like, well, I love business because my father was an entrepreneur and always knew I wanted to get into that side of things. But then, you know, she's like, well, what else are you interested in? I'm like, well, I love golf. Like, it's amazing. Like, I really enjoy it. She's like, well, there's this program called Professional Golf Management where you get your business admin diploma and you get to learn how to kind of run the operations of a golf facility. Is that something you might be interested in? I was like, that sounds perfect. Lo and behold, it's not as easy as you think. It is not a cruisy course that's really simple. You are, for this program, you're compressing your education, kind of like what you guys are doing now with your school, where it's 6 months of education rather than a span of 8 months. So it's much more compressed, and you got to do a lot more homework. And then you do a 6-month internship at a golf facility. So I was fortunate enough to be able to work at some of the golf facilities, top golf facilities in the Greater Toronto area. Worked at Angus Glen, which is a beautiful 36-hole golf facility. And then also the next year worked at Oakdale Golf and Country Club. And I worked there for 3 years, and it's a very high-end private golf course out in Jane and Wilson area in Toronto, so kind of the north region. And and then after that, traveled out west, moved to Camera, Alberta, lived out in the Rockies for 2 years as an assistant pro out there, and so turned professional. And then lived out in God's country, out on the side of a mountain, and beautiful views, and just lived the dream. And then Winter Olympics happened, moved out west to Vancouver just to experience the Olympics, and then didn't really know what I wanted to do. And then that's where I got hooked into the golf instruction side of things, because I got an opportunity to work at this extremely high-tech indoor teaching facility back in 2010. So 11 years ago, which time flies. And so I worked there, and that's where I got my itch in regards to all this whole tech side of things. And just kind of focused on, I worked in doing the retail side, and I worked on, the guest services, and, thought I was going to be a head professional at a beautiful facility and manage the operations and tournaments. But then once I got into the golf instruction side, it was really nice, because you're focusing just building relationships one-on-one, and then just fell in love with it. So then I've been a golf instructor ever since, worked my way up kind of up the line with different facilities, and then became the director of instruction here at Westwood Plateau 7 years ago. And then after that, I worked here for 5 years, and then I noticed with the facility that everything that was getting invested to in the golf instruction side of things was myself. Like they didn't have the budget set aside for anything in regards to investing into technology or building the academy or the instruction program. So I just had a sit-down meeting with the general manager, came up kind of just like, I'm not sure if I will stay here if things don't change. And they're like, well, what do you propose? I'm like, well, what if I, lease the space off of you and convert it? And then so kind of had that beautiful idea, light bulb in my head. And I was just like, what if I lease the space? Like, okay, well, let's figure out, crunch the numbers. And so we made a proposal, and we figured it all out, and leased the space off them. And then I just, put everything I had in savings into, which was a very big risk and a little scary, to be honest with you, but invested everything I could into the facility, and renovated the instruction room, and put it like a really high, indoor putting green turf so people can practice year round, working on their putting and chipping. And then we have like a heated area that you can hit balls outside, so you can actually train year round. Invested in this thing called a Foresight GC Quad launch monitor, which just tracks your club and your ball, and then high frame rate video analysis. So kind of, and then did online scheduling, all that stuff. But I was delving into that side. But that's how I got into it, and I've been here for 2 years, and business has been amazing. So it's been really good. So
Fascinating journey.
yeah.
And you know what? I've noticed a pattern across all of you guys here. You guys, whatever you guys do in your life, came out of an inner stem to do something that you're truly passionate about, and put yourself in a situation that to utilize this passion in a way that not necessarily the ordinal route, rather specifically entrepreneurial. And as a student right at university, this really speaks to me, and to students in high school at the moment currently enrolled in the Yale program, I'm sure that touches their heart as well. So thank you everyone for the first question here. So anyone has any further input they want to add?
Follow your passion.
Follow your passion.
Always.
Easy, but
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I would add
you'll
that,
figure it
like,
out.
do what you love. Like you might not get paid much at the beginning, but when you become an expert at something, you'll get paid well for it. So like for me, I started off getting paid peanuts. Like I was, cleaning towels and scrubbing clubs, and now I'm, doing this. So you pay your dues. You start from your bottom and work your way up, and just make sure, don't be afraid to take risks. And if someone says you can't do it, doesn't mean you can't. Go after it.
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneurship is not a straight road, ups and downs, a lot of risk, a lot of investment, and it could work out extremely well for some people, and you just need to do it the right way and seek the right advice and the right people at the right time. It's a very So the next question I prepared for you guys is a little bit interesting. So you guys obviously need to keep up with current trends and whatever is going on in the industry. What publications do you read on a regular basis in order to keep up with the industry? And what can you recommend for people who are looking to pursue their own entrepreneurial journeys? And what are some resources that you can provide from your own experience?
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, absolutely. I'll kick it off because I'm probably gonna be the outlier here. In that, my biggest thing since I started iterating and creating from the first business plan all the way through it's been podcasts. Not so much for every perfect detail of how to run a business, but just listening to other people's stories, I think, is how I've learned the best. And a couple of those would be NPR's How I Built This. Listening to that, pretty much, I think I've done every single episode, most of them twice, on just other founders and how they created everything from Steve Madden shoes to Fubu to obviously the tech companies and Calendly and all those ones. But there's so much for me that I've been able to just pick up and sort of pull out of conversations more than a formal reading. I mean, reading Peter Thiel's 0 to 1, which is incredible, and there's great things to pull from that. But a lot of times books I feel are they're written to be written in some cases, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it doesn't always mean that it's not as genuine sometimes as I feel like those conversations that can spring out of podcasts are. That's where a lot of power comes from. So for me, with How I Built This, I would listen to Masters of Scale by Reid Hoffman. And then The Pitch by Gimlet. Oh yeah, The Pitch by Gimlet's a blast because it's a little bit of the flip side where you just hear investors just roast people. It's imagine Dragon's Den or Shark Tank, but not for television and not with monsters behind sometimes who are trying to take advantage of people. It seems like it's a little bit more genuine.
Yeah, you said the podcast I listen to, so that's I'm a huge podcast buff, but I like to stay in touch with just stuff. So it's funny, right? So when I was in high school and even university and even earlier on in my professional career, I could care less with what was going on in the world unless I was interested in it. In high school, I was interested in women, skateboarding, and music, and that was it. Like, I didn't care about like politics, and I thought at the time it was a detriment. Like, my dad would be like, "Why aren't you reading the newspaper? Like, you should be paying attention to current events." But in essence, it really comes down to like, okay, you'll find when the timing's right for that anyway. Like when your interests align to things that are publicly available, you'll figure that out. So I now find myself reading immensely. I was just literally looking because I'm subscribed to so many newsletters. I like to think that maybe I'm overly subscribed, but I read the Morning Brew, which is the American version of the Peak, which is the Canadian version of. They're basically very similar in nature, but just U.S. versus Canada. The Peak's a good one. I read Sport Techie specifically newsletter for sports and technology. Kevin Durant's The Boardroom. The Boardroom's a good one just in terms of the sports industry. But I find with them, they kind of tend to attach themselves to a lot of the same stories so the same athletes over and over again. And then there's a few others, but yeah, newsletters for me, because it's just in your inbox when you wake up in the morning. It's the easiest way to digest stuff.
I feel like you raised a great point there about, you're going to learn the stuff that you want to learn when you want to learn it. It's, you're going to be inundated with having to learn chemistry when you don't want to and all those things in school. So it's like, you don't need to fill up your time based on something that some old dude told you that you need to learn everything about the world by like reading about politics when you're 15 or 16. If it doesn't strike you, then it doesn't strike you. Like same way as Andrew, I didn't give a dang about politics until, probably a couple of years ago, maybe in my early 20s. And then we live in the digital age. You can become a master in it in a month if you want to. You go to Google and you start taking some notes. So there's so much time to learn the things when you want to learn them. And I think it goes back to Patrick's point too, which is just like passion, especially in your education. If there's something you care about, then learn all the ancillary things around it to build a robust knowledge around it. But like, don't spend your life just reading things to read them. At least I don't think so, unless they mean something to you.
Yeah, and in that point for myself, like podcasts are amazing. Like they're phenomenal. Like kind of wish we had that when we were even younger, but at least we have it now. So you guys are very fortunate in high school to be able to access it. So, I have a pretty lengthy commute to work. So I get about 40-minute drive. So I always just throw on either a podcast, or sometimes there's a lot of educational stuff in the golf industry. And the funny thing with golf is there's so many little sectors. Especially as a golf coach, I kind of need to know everything. So there's the mental side, there's the nutrition and sports, fitness side, and then there's the technology side of new golf clubs, and there's obviously the technology in regards to force plates and the new innovations with motion sensors and launch monitors and all that stuff. So it's very fortunate that there's a lot of experts in different fields in golf. And the nice thing is a lot of like sports psychologists, they branch out. So it's, I'm sure for yourself, Nathaniel, like you have that same thing where you have a psychologist that helps you with your internal motivations to help drive you and push you to reach that next level. And then the personal training, obviously with golf and football, it's probably a little different in regards to the intensity of it. But at the same point, it's specialization. And the cool thing with golf that I've reached into now is like, I've been teaching golf for almost 15 years, and I feel like I barely scratched the surface in regards to just the education side of like understanding the biomechanics of a golf swing, understanding the physical limitations of someone. And then, so like, I enjoy learning now about, different parts of your body and the types of rotations you're able to do with supination and pronation of your forearms, and, all these medical terms, which I don't really need to know, but just understanding how they work and how they move. And then if someone's restricted, how that would influence their movement in their golf swing, which for me, I find very interesting. So, I try to educate myself as much as I can. And there's, I'm not a huge book reader. I do enjoy the odd one, especially like a lot of the older stuff in golf instruction. I kind of enjoying seeing what their philosophy is. And then obviously now with all the new innovation and technology and kind of just bridging that gap. So, because obviously golf can become very complicated with all this technology, but I try to keep it as simple as possible. And try to learn from as many experts as I can in the field. Like there's the one benefit is also for me is like Instagram, YouTube, and then there's a lot of conferences and education and, summits that we do for golf that we can, you spend a little bit of money on it, but paying for your education, as long as you have people that really inspire you or that are, experts in that field, like, pay for that education, especially if you're passionate about it, because then you're learning from people and experts. Especially, it's nice that but back in the day you'd have to travel to golf facilities and fly to these different locations to learn from these people. Yeah. Now it's like you pay $100 and you're able to get this education for instead of having to spend hundreds of dollars to fly and hotel and food and all that stuff. So it's pretty phenomenal with the technology and the advancements that we have. So I'm always learning. I can never help but just keep learning, because it just allows for me to try to grow and just keep on getting better and better and better is my goal, and try to help people become better as much as I can. So.
And you have access to everything too, right? Like it's crazy how much you literally can get anything you want at your fingertips on the fly. You could be on a run, you could be walking, you could be in your basement, whatever, wherever you are. Like literally ask the question to your phone and you'll get the answer. Like it's nuts.
I think the most educational part of my day is my dog walks, like the 2 walks I go on with the dog, because it's like, okay, pick something, learn it today, the audiobook, whatever it is, and it's like, let them go fight in the park, and I sit there with the earbuds in and just pick up poop and keep learning. That's pretty much those are the best parts of my day right there.
Oh, I get it. Yep.
Personally, you guys talked about how far we came in technology, and my entire life I took it for granted. I was just born into it and grew up into it, and you guys all touched in a way that how far we've come since how things been a few years ago, 5, 10, 15 years ago or so. And it's extremely cool to hear. It is extremely cool to hear. And thank you everyone for the inputs in that question. The next question I'm going to ask, it's actually going to be a participant question. And just for all our participants, please feel free to post questions in the chat. If you're curious, if you would like to ask our speakers anything, we would love to have you ask questions here today. So our question from the chat is, Harris is asking about, what are you guys' thoughts on going overseas and pursuing a career in sports, perhaps due to the lack of the opportunity in North America, according to them. And they're just to build on that, they're mostly referring to soccer, but any specific input you guys have about the industry, I think Harris, as well as other viewers, would love to hear about.
Yeah. I think it's great. Playing sports is such a finite amount of time, especially when you're talking about a high volume sport like a soccer, where your feet and your knees only got so long to play. So where there's opportunity, always go get it. I mean, I play with guys in university. I went to Carleton University here in Ottawa, Ontario, and guys from our team went and played American football in France, in Germany, in different places like that, because it's just you only get so long to continue to go and grow and play this sport. And I think that every opportunity is a great one, because what's life if it's not to live it and do the things you love to do, as we've touched on, I think 3 or 4 times now. And if playing your sport's what you want to do, then go wherever is going to let you do it. And just, you can, other great thing as we've noticed with COVID is if there's still learning you want to do, you being in Denmark or in Switzerland or wherever it may be doesn't actually really remove you from anywhere. You're still able to be everywhere at once. So go play your sport and be great. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I would, on my side, just for obviously traveling for golf, is just like, it is scary, branching out and, making a risk like that. But, just like in your point, Nathaniel, like what's life living if you're not going to take a risk and go after it? So it's important to, like, if you're passionate about it, and like you said, if your feet and legs can move and you can do it, then go ahead and do it, because it gives you that opportunity to, it's just a learning experience and another chapter in your life. Like lots of chapters that happen, and they're gonna come and they're gonna go, but it's just being able to learn from each chapter, right, and help you progress and become better as you go through. If it's a mistake, you learn from your mistakes, and that's the important part. And that's a life lesson my dad always gave me is, you're gonna make a mistake. That's a guarantee. That's one certainty in life you're going to do is make mistakes, but it's whether you learn from it or not determines the type of person you are. So that's something that's really important.
And I would say, like, as a non-pro athlete here, but just speaking with a lot, what I've learned is, like, a lot of athletes who go overseas or just play in other countries, the amount of growth you get in yourself as an individual is huge. Like from learning about the culture to ways of life of other people. Yeah, you're not playing in the NBA, you're not playing in the MLB, maybe, you want to play and you're playing other parts of the world, but you're getting this like huge growth opportunity in yourself that you won't get. I mean, think about it this way. You're potentially being paid to live somewhere else and experience other things, whereas the average person has to go and move and pay for themselves and things of that nature, right? So like, there's a lot of interesting aspects to it. And I know that like it's super flashy to go play in the leagues that are really the ones that are well funded. But there's actually a lot of upside to like going and playing professional basketball in France, and maybe you get the opportunity to connect with people in different worlds there now, right? That you wouldn't have otherwise got. So in my world, like I had the opportunity, I didn't take it, like right when I graduated university, to go out to Asia and teach English and just experience that life. And I just immediately why do I want to travel? Take every opportunity you can, right? As Nate and Patrick are saying, like go live your life. You can always come back to home base, right? That's always an option.
Never close the door. Never close the door.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
Keep all the doors open. Here's another question for you guys that I'm quite interested in knowing, and I'm sure many of our audience would like as well. What would you tell your 18, 17, 19-year-old self now that you've perhaps gained a little bit more life experience?
Somebody else can lead this one off.
So why don't I start? Just because I have a really crazy story, real quick. So I went to university for film, so I have a film background, right? I'm a business person. I'm an entrepreneur. I mentor people. I tell them like what they should be doing with their life. I have no business background at all. And so technically on paper, I have no business in even doing this. But through life experiences, I've gotten to a point where I tend to have some decent things to say to someone. What happened was, though, in my film program, I hated it. Like I just hated the people. They were all Tarantino kids, just super artsy, and it wasn't me. And I decided I wanted to go to law school. And then I found out how much law school was going to cost. So I took the LSAT twice, bombed it the first time, did well on the second time. But I didn't get good enough score to stay in Toronto. I live in Toronto. I'd have to live somewhere else in the world, basically, and have to pay for room and board plus the tuition fees. And I realized at that point that I didn't love it enough to go and do it. And so I told my parents that, and obviously they freaked out because they're like, "Oh, finally, my son's going to go do something with his life." And then I said, "No, I don't want to do law school." And I freaked out because then they instilled that in me, and they're like, "What are you going to do with yourself now?" And that was when I had this moment of like, I can go teach English in Asia and go experience the world. And then I had a friend who worked at IBM. He's like, "Hey, do you want a job? I can get you a job." And I jumped on that immediately because I was 23 thinking, "Oh, it's the end of my life now. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself." And so looking back on that, I'd be like, dude, like you figured it all out anyway. Like things will get put in front of you and you'll figure it out. As long as you have like a decent idea of what you want to do in your life, and it doesn't even have to be crystal clear, but you have the idea that, yes, I don't want to die an early death and I want to somehow live better than being homeless. If that's the way you're thinking, that's a good start because you can build off of that. And so that's kind of where I would say to my 18-year-old, 19-year-old self, like, you're gonna experience stuff anyway, but at the end of the day, you're gonna make it happen. Just keep at whatever you're trying to do, and it'll take you in directions, and then you'll figure it out.
Fantastic.
Yeah, for myself, a couple things is just being responsible. But I think when you're young, you learn about those, mistakes, and then. But one thing I would say, probably the most important thing for me that I would tell myself is focus on, it's slightly selfish, but focus on yourself. Mm-hmm. Like focus on making yourself better, making yourself happy, rather than worrying about other people. And because you can't fix people, but you can need to focus on yourself and make yourself happy, and then you'll be happy. And don't be afraid to make mistakes, because the same thing, they're going to happen. Focus on numero uno, focus on what you want to do with your life, what matters to you. Avoid naysayers, like anyone that's negative, they're negative for a reason. So it is what it is. You don't know why they're, what's in their life that's causing them to be that way. So don't let it affect you. But just focus on making yourself happy, and then life becomes a lot more enjoyable and a lot more fun to live. So that would be, if you feel like you're unhealthy, be healthy. Like focus on changing that one day at a time. Like it doesn't have to be a big mountain. Like a mountain has many steps you need to take, and so it's just one step at a time, and you'll climb that mountain. But you don't want to think about that mountain getting to the top. It's just keep your head down and just one step at a time, and you'll get there. Right? And it's life's a journey. It's not a snap of the finger and you're going to get there. So don't imagine that you're going to win the lottery and it's all going to happen. You might get lucky, it might happen, but most likely not. So you just kind of, focus on you and just, you want to change, you change, but you do focus on baby steps one day at a time, and you'll get there.
And mine's, I think I would echo a lot of the sentiments, and especially in Patrick's last point there about, focusing on yourself. If I could go back in time to myself at, 18, 19, especially 18, 19, 20. There's a couple things. I think one of the biggest ones would be sort of with regards to sort of focusing on yourself and not letting other people get to you. It's that like everybody's got their own thing going on. You can't pass judgment on people, and with that also sort of lends itself to like that understanding that when people are passing judgment on you or making their decisions or saying something about you, it's almost never a reflection of you, but everybody's kind of looking at things. Everybody looks at each other as a mirror and just sort of throws the stuff off and lets their own stuff stick to other people. And that's especially true as we grow up, I think. And it's one of those things I think is the most difficult when you're sort of in that horribly awkward, horrible stage of life where you're like, let's go. And the people that you love and that you hang out with and all their words, everything you hear are the most important things on earth. And your mom and dad sound like idiots you never want to listen to, and your homeboy with a C- in physics sounds like the smartest person you've ever met. But it is one of the most important things of understanding like they can have thoughts, and they can say, even if they say horrible things, realizing that's not a reflection of you, but it's a reflection of something that's going on in them. And then also being able to flip that inwards. It took me till much like later in my 20s to be able to be brave enough to go to therapy or go to counseling and be able to say like, I'm doing things and I make decisions that aren't actually based on reality. And I have my own things that I need to work on, just like that, climbing that mountain, but also like being able to actively say, like, I don't need to be perfect. I'm not perfect. There's nothing in here there's nothing on planet Earth that's perfect. That's why it exists. And like being able to kind of capture that, the younger you can do it, the better off you're going to be. And there's people that do it early, and it's magical, and like they transcend things, and they're the best. Like it's just great. It shows itself in sports with a Kobe Bryant, who was 12 years old in Italy, sitting on a court when his dad was playing pro, and said, I'm going to be the best basketball player I can humanly possibly be. I'm going to make every sacrifice that I can do to get there. Bingo, bingo, bongo. And he had that. He said, I'm not where I need to be, but I'm going to shift, look inwardly, and decide where I'm going to go as a human being. And he did it at an ungodly early age. That's why he's the Bean. That's why he's Kobe. But it's a tough one, but it's important. And then my last one, just because this is my throwaway one that no one's going to want to hear, but it's the truth, is that old people don't know what the heck's going on either. It's not everybody in charge does not know. They got a better idea with retrospect to learning it, but growing up is not automatically make you smarter. You still gotta work at learning what's going on around you and keep learning. And yeah.
Very well said there. And just like a little bit of advice out of myself to my earliest self, which is like a year ago, because I'm only 19 years old. I would tell myself, you know what, Daniel, party a little bit more, because you're gonna be stuck at home.
There you go. Exactly.
That's a very good point.
Yeah, but when you get older, partying becomes dinner and drinks with your friends.
And then bed by 8.
Yeah. Not that late.
Well, no,
not that. But yeah, echoing the Nathaniel, like older people don't know everything, but I would say listen to them, and take it, take what they're saying and actually full-heartedly, rather than be like, oh, you don't know.
Yeah.
It's like, you don't fully know, but they've lived their life. They've been through your age and your experience and the hormonal changes and all that stuff. And my dad had some really good advice that I wish I listened to. Right. And, but the same thing, you're going to make mistakes and you learn from it. Right. But yeah, just keep an open mind. Your parents are there to, hopefully, as long as they're nice parents, they're there to help you and to care for you. But obviously you need to make mistakes, and you don't want to be pampered and protected. You need to take those risks and, go after it and work hard.
Definitely.
Like for anybody who plays sports out there, it's the exact same, watching film or watching your high speed resolution swing back. It's like, you watch the film, but you could also learn from watching somebody else. Like you put up Tiger's swing on the screen, we'd all be able to learn something from it. I think that's kind of to that is, learn from people's mistakes. If they're telling you something because they've lived it, then there's always knowledge to be learned. And people that don't do that stay on junior varsity for their whole career, or never crack the starting roster in sports or whatever it may be. So it's the same thing in life.
Well said.
Yeah, that'd be one thing I'd say in regards to like golf books, like the things that I learned from like these old school books. Like, there's a lot of stuff that's totally off now because science has proven it wrong, but there are gems. There's little things in there that are so valuable that they did learn from their years and years, 40 years of teaching. And there's this book written, and like, there's stuff that are so far off, but there's little things in there that you can take from it that are just, that can completely change your perception or help you become so much better. So it's, never, take advice, listen to it, and then take the parts that you want to take out of it to help you become better. And that'd be my 2 cents in regards to it.
Well said. Amazing advice, Nathan and Andrew and Patrick. But you guys know what I'll do when we go back to school. I've been home for a little bit too long now. University experience is waiting for me.
Yes, exactly.
Daniel, everything in moderation.
Okay. Those bars are way too clean right now.
Just saying. All right, we'll go on to the next question. The next question is the question from one of our participants, more directly towards Nate, but we would love to hear everyone's input on this one. So Daniel, not me, Daniel is asking after two. Well, I'm asking the question because you get it. After 2 great seasons with the Edmonton Eskimos, did your free agency, although short, spanning only 3 days, leave you with any stress as being unsure of your future? And does the knowledge that athletes have can be passed between teams and sometimes left hanging to motivate you to keep working on your brand outside of the CFL at ATNMY, if I'm not mistaken? So could you just we talk about more about that, about facing uncertainty when it comes to situations in life and variability as well? I think it would be a great topic of discussion here.
Yeah, absolutely. Free agency is insane. It's the strangest thing I've ever experienced in sports. I guess I'll kind of, without going too long-winded, like professional sports is just different and strange to begin with. You go from college, especially a sport like football, that's like, we talk about it as if you're going to war together with your guys, and these people are going to be your brothers for life, and everything is so camaraderie based. And then you move into professional sports, it just becomes this transaction. What can you do for me right now? How can you help the people with the checkbook make more money to put in their bank account? All these different things. So the first time into free agency, your agent calls you and tries to warn you and keeps you up to date with the upcoming and goings. But it is tough. It's like, for myself, having played university football in Ottawa, I knew that Ottawa was where I wanted to be in free agency, but there's always the game. You can't tell them how excited you are to go there, because then they give you less money, and they can't tell you how excited they are to have you, because then you're going to ask for more money. So that sort of balancing act makes it tough, and it is very, very, very anxiety driving, and the people that love you and ask a million questions a day, which, because they love you and they care, but it makes it 1,000 times worse, because instead of trying to, watch the Iron Man movie or something to distract yourself, you have your mom asking you, did this person call you? Did this person call you? So it's a process you get used to. My second time around it's a little bit easier to just say, screw it, it's going to happen when it happens, and let your agent do his job. But you want to be in charge of your career, so you want to be super active and a part of the process, and sometimes that actually just makes it harder. So being able to sort of let go and let the people that you've empowered to do their job just do it is definitely very, very important. I'm learning that, and as I grow up, I guess I'll say. I think there was a second part of the question, but I do kind of forget it. I don't know if you want to help me out there, Daniel.
Sure. Facing uncertainty and your entrepreneurial journey, I think we touched about that, but what motivated you from that experience in perhaps starting your side venture?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, that's a great point. I mean, I think this is maybe even more so COVID than just free agency in general, but as it did for everybody, it just kind of shows the fickleness of so many different industries, so many different things, and like how fragile the interweavings of your life that you thought was certain. And for the 3 months of 2020 before everything really got shut down, I was working out 3 times a day, 5 days a week, plus running routes on weekends. So like it was crazy, because it was just like, this is my reality. The only thing that possibly exists is trying to go for 1,000 yards next year with whatever team I'm going to be on, and then that kind of gets taken away. And this had already been, autonomy had started already. We started working on it, but that kind of was like a shock. Like, okay, well, this stuff may be gone forever. This stuff could be gone for a week, could be gone for a month. Like, let's start using this time and using our energy that we have to build for something for tomorrow. And especially, having a mission that was kind of going to help people that I cared about, made it a lot easier to sort of to put the blinders on and just go for it.
100%. That's a very valuable input there. Thank you, Nathan. Patrick, Andrew, anything to add about facing uncertainty in your life through the challenging times and your entrepreneurial journeys?
I had a stint where, because the golf season's about, in Ontario, it's only about 7 to 8 months long, depending on what Mother Nature throws our way. So a little bit of uncertainty with that and, the elements. And so just trying to figure out, I had bartending and serving experience, so I was trying to do that. But obviously people only don't really want to hire people for 4 months out of the year. So there's a little bit of uncertainty there in regards to where the next paycheck was coming. So, for me, it was a little bit, terrifying. Actually, for 1 year as a golf professional, I was working for, in Bell, as doing janitorial work, cleaning to mopping floors and taking out the garbage and stuff like that. And that was a pretty big reality check for myself in regards to, and scary, like, was I doing the right career? Was this the right thing for me to do? But I knew that I loved what I did. And so, the sacrifice of doing that for a few months just really helped motivate me and push me harder than I ever had before to kind of just double down and make sure I was working harder, providing better service, doing everything I could to further educate myself so that I can not let that happen again. Luckily, I only did that for 4 months and didn't have to do that again, which was nice. So, that uncertainty's scary, but it's, you can let it motivate you and push you harder, or you can let it sink you. But I think I like the decision they made and helped me push it through. And one thing I try to do is not live life with regrets. So that's one thing that kind of helped me, positive self-talk and, self-help stuff. I think it was like Tony Robbins was what I was listening to at that point as well. It wasn't podcasts, but it was, his recordings. I may have gotten them pirated. That kind of helped motivate me and push me to kind of become a lot better. So it's never bad to seek help and seek motivation and, to push yourself. So that's one thing that definitely helped me through that. So
yeah. And on that point too, right? It's like everyone faces uncertainty. I think there's a lot of loneliness in uncertainty, and you feel like you're the only one going through the shit, and stuff. Sorry. Like you're the only one experiencing that. And then you realize, wait a minute, there's like a whole bunch of people that are literally doing the exact same thing, experiencing the same thing. And I feel like people tend to, like myself included, you start shelling up and you're like, man, I don't know what the heck's going on right now, but I'm not letting anyone know. Like, I'm not going to tell anyone because I need to figure this out. Otherwise, I'm going to look a certain way. I think realizing that, right? Like having that self-awareness about yourself, just realizing things could seem like you just have no clue what's going to happen, but sometimes having a conversation literally opens your eyes and just steers you in the direction you never thought you could get into, right? So even further.
100%. It's uncertainty, especially right now. It's a thing that we're a little bit used to, and it's interesting. From the side, it's been really interesting to see of what changes we encountered in the last, almost a year now since we've been in quarantine. I did learn a lot of things about yourselves and about myself, but my question is, what did you guys learn about yourselves that you didn't know before COVID?
Oh, working out sucks. That's my big one. Now that I don't have the threat of 300-pound men crushing me, working out is not fun. That's my biggest one. I'm gonna pass it over after that.
Sorry, Nathaniel, you just realized that now.
I mean, the fear of getting your butt whacked on the football field makes working out feel a lot more enjoyable because there's a utility to it. Now I'm like, I don't have to fit into my nice clothes anyways. I can't go out, so this is just torture.
Good point. Yeah, actually, funny enough, what I was gonna say was that I don't think I've been in better shape than now. All I do if I'm not working is I do actually like working on my basement. Like I'm actually sitting in my basement, so I apologize for those that wanted me to sit somewhere else. My kids are home from school for obvious reasons, so I've been relegated to the basement. But I didn't realize, like I was a gym rat, and I didn't realize I could handle physical activity at home in the same way. I always needed to be in another environment for me to be motivated, and obviously I had no choice. And I haven't been in better shape.
I'm proud of you.
It's interesting because I have no way of testing it, so I have no idea really. Like, there's no pickup basketball game.
Right.
There's no golf game. I got into frisbee golf actually, so I'm like that was sort of a little bit of a thing, but I literally have no idea to what extent other than looking in the mirror. But yeah, no, I didn't realize I could do it at home.
Good for you.
I'll take that as an inspiration for the time being.
Yeah, for myself with COVID, the biggest thing I learned is just trying to deal with stress. I think was the biggest thing that I've learned is like coping mechanisms for stress. Like with work, I just like running your own business. There's no real pause button. Like you have to set the pause button. And then with the anxiety of work and then dealing with the stresses of the business and then everything shut down. Like we shut down for 2 months and then trying to deal with all that stuff. And then relaunching and opening up like a snap of a finger, and then dealing with having a team of staff that you have to have set safety protocols in place, physical distancing, and then having to be a little bit of a not the nicest person to the staff when they're not doing their job properly because they're not being safe. And then that's my liability, my issues that my business can get shut down, and having to be a little bit selfish, but also being considerate towards others and understanding that like, hey, like maybe, you know, and it's tricky, like people wearing glasses and they're fogging up. So it's like, you know, you got to be considerate in that side of things. And so it's, you know, just dealing with stress and understanding like, hey, you know what, it's fine to have a cheat day and grab a big honking bowl of ice cream and sit down and watch Netflix for a few hours. Like there's nothing wrong with
At all.
So I may have gained weight from COVID. Just saying, rather than in the best shape of my life, Andrew, you're probably one of the few compared.
I'm weird, man. Don't use me as an example. I'm weird.
But yeah, I'd say just figuring out how to deal with stress would be the one thing. Because we had stress, but I always kind of had the happy, positive life and trying to be, you know, that person where, you know, it was a pretty big curveball, you know, and it's tough and dealing with that. And then the stress of my family, like all my family's back in Ontario, and comparison to BC out here, we've had it pretty, you know, not easy, but a lot easier than what Ontario's going through with you, Andrew, and stuff, and Anna and Nathaniel. So it's kind of worrisome. You know, I got a 94-year-old grandma that actually got COVID, and but luckily she was asymptomatic and got through it, and she's okay, which is a miracle. Which you know, I'm super blessed and fortunate. But that stint of time for over a month was extremely stressful. Stuff like that, but just yeah. But it's, you know, it's everyone goes through stuff, and it's just kind of figuring out, you know, what makes you happy, and just kind of just making sure that you know, taking a little bit of time for myself a little bit more, and realizing that tomorrow, you know, there's another day that you can, you know, tomorrow's a new day, and not to stress out about what happened the day before, and just kind of keep that going. Deep breathing that helps a whole bunch. A little bit of meditation never hurts, and yeah, so that type of stuff made a really big difference for me. So.
Absolutely. Moral of the conversation: working out sucks. Working is good, and ice cream.
Yeah, exactly. You got it.
We're
in complete agreement.
And you know what? That's the beauty of life. We all pursue our own journey.
There you go.
Next question for you guys: how do you market yourself nowadays?
On an influencer marketing app called ATNMY Marketing. Just kidding. How do you market yourself? I'm going to leave this to somebody else too.
That's a good question. By going to conferences.
Well, I can touch base on that because mine's really easy. So one thing that I do with every single one of my clients is I get their contact information. That is detrimental. So anytime you get a customer, you want their name, their phone number, their email, even their birthday, simple things like that. So you're able to, because everyone loves a gift on their birthday. So, you know, inform them and make them know that you care. Give me a little promotion, even if you don't have their birthday in your system, but just simply saying, hey, or what their birthday month is. Like, hey, it's your birthday month. Here's a little promotion. But just getting their contact information. Like I've been fortunate that I have now, because of, you know, once again, 15 years of teaching here out in Coquitlam for 10 years. Gathering their contact information is detrimental. So for me, it's mass emails, but making sure the emails aren't trying to sell stuff. It's more providing you know, valuable knowledge and experience in regards to different things that you provide for them. You know, like for me, it's like golf tips and, you know, how to fix your slice or how to change your grip. And then we obviously at the bottom, like, hey, if you're interested in our lesson programs, or here's what's new, here's what's happening, all that stuff going on. So that for me is my main marketing source. Instagram a little bit. I need to become a little bit more regular with that, but and then Facebook as well, and just try to get one other thing is just testimonials. Testimonials are huge for yourself to kind of then put on your website. So after, you know, it's nice for me, we have an automation system that we use. It's Acuity scheduling. So after they're done their lesson, we automatically sends them a nice little email just saying, hey, thank you for coming to Lago Golf Academy. If you'd like to provide any feedback, if you had a great experience, you know, here's our Google, here's our, you know, Facebook. If you would like to put a review, we'd greatly appreciate it. And it's awesome. Like it's in a short time period of doing that, we got like close to 40, 50 reviews, which is awesome. So and that kind of just helps add value and then moves you up to Google and SEOs and all that stuff, and then websites, using that, like my website's what's main source, and then having the ease where they don't have to call me too much, where there's like online scheduling. That makes my life really easy. And then just right now, actually, there's a gentleman in one of the sessions named Mark Ponce, absolutely amazing digital marketing guy. He's actually assisting me with rebranding my website. So don't judge me on my website now. You can look at it, see how uneasy it is to navigate through, and then next week look at it and see it being much more user friendly and much more functional. So doing things like that and just constantly trying to improve is kind of my philosophy.
Absolutely. That's so good to hear, Patrick. Does anyone else have anything to add?
I mean, yeah, like I guess it's marketing myself is I don't do that, but marketing my business, it's social media is incredible. That's you gotta go where your people are. Like I know Andrew and ATG, they're phenomenal at that as well. Getting to the athletes, going where they are, and for us, it's a lot of the same thing. And Instagram is king for now until Gen Z and the TikToks, everybody on this call, so you guys take over and burn Instagram to the ground. Instagram will be king until that's happened, but that's mainly it for us.
Yeah, social media, really. There's no secret to it, right? It's like, what is the platform that can get yourself in front of people right now? Digitally, it's social media, using your website, etc. It kind of like how, I think we talked a little bit about this. Like, there's no secret about any of this stuff. It's really just follow what you think makes sense based on what you like and what other people are doing, and see what the results are. Guess and test, right?
Mm-hmm.
Social media, especially, guess and test.
Yeah.
It's not because not every social media platform is for everybody as well, which is key. So it's not only a matter of like how, but it's a matter of where. Like where is very important too.
And that's one of the big things we see with marketing, especially for small medium-sized businesses that, maybe your marketing team or whatever you're doing, whether anybody here is an entrepreneur or doing some drop ship or whatever it may be, that they have that bug. Try everything, but make sure you test everything too, because as long as you're testing and, you have an idea of what you want to accomplish in marketing, then you're able to find what works. And there's nothing wrong with doing it wrong once, as long as you realize, okay, that one's not going to work.
Yeah.
Moving to the next one and moving to the next one, moving to the next one. That's the beauty of marketing, is that you can fail 1,000 times, and then that 1,001 you find the perfect thing, and you're the next Amazon or Gymshark or 437 swimwear, whatever it is that works for you. Maybe not Amazon. You're probably not going to be the next Amazon. I'm sorry, but the other ones.
Well said. We have time for one more question before we close it off. Is there any question that any of our panelists want to bring up to the table?
I would. I have. Let me make sure that I word this properly. Andrew, do you have one?
To be honest with you, not at the moment. If you have one, by all means.
Surprise, surprise! I am a sneaky moderator. You guys not expected.
I'll throw one out there. Where do you see your career, business, or future, in the future, in the next, let's say 5-10 years? What would be, where does Nathaniel see himself in 5 to 10 years?
Absolutely. I think that we absolutely have the scalability and possibility to make a platform and make a marketplace that can dominate an industry and multiple at that with what we're doing. Digital, as we touched on just in the last question, digital marketing and social media marketing, influencer marketing, affiliate marketing, it's all just going to continue to expand and explode. And as long as I sort of, get to continue to have some of the advisors and the team around me that make my crazy ramblings sometimes turn into reality, and also tell me that I'm wrong when I'm often wrong. I truly do believe that what we're doing at ATNMY can, be the gold standard for influencer marketing, all things social, kind of globally, especially here in North America. So I see myself hopefully there, and then hopefully soon after that, getting to happily exit, feeling very accomplished, and then writing a book somewhere with white sand in between my toes and a fruity something or other cocktail in my left hand. That'd be a pretty nice 10-year plan.
It's always important.
There you go. Exactly.
Absolutely. 5 to 10 years from now, I don't know. I mean, we're in the space now where we're just scratching the surface and realizing athletes need education around technology and entrepreneurship, and there's this huge gap. And the world generally only really focuses on like the LeBron Jameses and the Kevin Durants of the world when it comes to athlete entrepreneurship. But there's this massive group of people out there who are heavily interested and have no idea where to start at times. So I see a space where it just becomes more synonymous in sport, entrepreneurship, technology, and the athlete. You're kind of starting to see a bit of that, but I feel like it just becomes even that much more integrated. And the Athlete Tech Group is like one of the pivotal organizations that's continuously building on that. We're looking at the world as a long-term game anyway. So for us, it's just more leagues involved, more teams involved, things of that nature. So.
There we go.
Oh, I guess
you do.
I was just waiting.
Dream wise, I like dreaming. I like dreaming big because I'd rather go after it. So I ideally want to see myself having multiple Lago Golf Academies branched out. Firstly, across Canada. I grew up in Ontario, so I'd love to have something out there. And then for myself after that, down south in the States, get to SoCal. I love Southern California.
You're going to say chasing the sun, aren't you? Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Well, it's the golf season, man.
Exactly.
Year-round golf is lovely. Vancouver's the closest thing I get to year-round golf, so I'm kind of stuck out here until South SoCal comes calling. So, or
yeah,
Hawaii,
either
We're from here.
No big deal.
Yeah, but so something along those lines would be ideal for me. And then hopefully, I'd love to coach. Like my dream is always just to coach elite athletes, elite golfers that want to achieve greatness. So that's my goal. So hopefully, maybe some tour players, and drive around with them periodically and help them win, big tournaments and maybe a major championship under the road. That would be a real good feather in the cap. So that would be, dream wise, that would be where I'd love to see myself get to. So just baby steps.
In 5 years, I will graduate maybe from university.
There you go.
No pressure. No
pressure. I think that's all the time we have for the question, but there is a comment in the chat that would like to make it known that Daniel from the chat would love to 1v1 Nate on a basketball game, and he doesn't care how many times you tweet about LeBron.
As long as Daniel in the chat knows that LeBron is the greatest of all time, then we're all playing as many times. As long as he admits that, I will fly to Vancouver when that's allowed and go play him one-on-one. But I need the tweet first. I need the receipts.
Okay, right there. Hopefully you joined that comment, Daniel. Then that's all the time we have for the questions. Thank you, Nathan. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Patrick, for joining us today. And thank you for all the Yale students for joining us today for the session. For the Yale students, I'll invite you to check out the other sessions and connect with the speakers via LinkedIn. We're going on a quick lunch break, and please use this time if you would like to do any networking, talk with anyone, as well as get some food, because who doesn't like food? I actually do need to get food as well. And for all the Yale students, we'll see everyone at 1 p.m. on the main stage. Thank you so much for coming, and hopefully you guys have been enjoying Yale Community Day. Any words, any closing words, guys?
I need some food too, actually.
Yeah. Daniel, you did amazing, my friend. Thank you.
Yeah, no, this has been great. A lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, Daniel, that was awesome. It's a pleasure to meet you guys.
Okay.
Have a good one, guys.
I will send everyone a personal message. Thank you, everyone, for joining. You guys have a wonderful day, and we did it. We did it. I didn't think we were going to do it. I was nervous, but we did it. Thank you, guys.
We made it happen.
Cool.
Have a good one.
Take care.
Good job.